It's Thursday evening. Welcome into Illini Drive. We had a little bit of a miscommunication there with the music going out, but it's time to talk some sports on Thursday night. Isaac Trotter joined alongside Brian Binz. Eli Schuster. Our wonderful producer, Tati Perry, is behind the desk as well, running the keyboard over there for all of us to keep us on the air. But, we got a busy show planned for you on Thursday. It's our second show of the year, and we have some exciting stuff planned. Obviously, Illinois football is going to be the big point of discussion today. Illinois quarterback Cam Thomas announced today that he is leaving the team. No, he's not transferring. He is just leaving the team. He is not on the roster right now, and can't wait to get into this discussion with Brian Binz and Eli Schuster. And then if Tati decides to pop in with a comment or two, I'm sure we'll definitely not kick her out. But Cam Thomas is deciding to leave the team. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little bit of Illinois versus Western Illinois, which comes up on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. kickoff. It might be a little bit of rain in the forecast, but students can go to the game for free. I believe that all the tickets for the student section are sold out, but that's something to monitor. You can also, if you have a ticket for the student section, you can bring a couple friends with you to the game.
That's not going to happen. I know the student section might be sold out, but also I think if the forecast stays where it's at, that stadium may be empty because
it may be empty.
It is going to be.
But if you don't want to, sit in the rain and watch Illinois battle Western Illinois, you can watch the game on the Big Ten Network again, starting at 6:30. Obviously, the NFL season kicks off tonight. I had 3 fantasy football drafts last night. That was pretty great. My mind was a little bit of swirling, but tonight we have the Falcons. They will battle against, who are they playing tonight?
Eagles.
The Eagles. I was waiting for Eli to hop in with the Eagles. It's going to be a second Super Bowl win in a row. But yeah, they play the Eagles tonight. That starts at 7:20. Catch that game on NBC. The Cardinals have the day off, right? And then the Cubs. Who do they play today? I think don't they play the Nationals again?
The Cubs are playing the Nationals tonight, yeah.
They play the Nationals again today. That's a 4-game series for the Cubs.
The Cubs try to start that series today.
Yeah, it's a 4-game series starting today, and it'll be interesting to see if the Cubs can get a little bit of distance between the Cardinals and the Brewers. The Brewers are 4 games out in the National League Central. The Cardinals are 4.5 games out. But baseball, you know what? We don't really care about much about baseball on this show right now because we got Illinois football to talk about. And obviously, sophomore Cam Thomas leaving the team is going to create some ripples today. That was announced this afternoon. Kent Brown, the sports information director and assistant to the athletic director, sent that out to all the media, and it kind of went swirling throughout the afternoon. But Eli, when you first see the news that Cam Thomas is leaving the team, what are the first things that hopped in your mind?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, this was not a situation for me where I saw it and I even dropped everything I was doing and I was shocked. Obviously, I have a job where I want to get the article out. I want to make sure I'm tweeting about it. But this wasn't as big of a breaking news situation or something like that. Obviously, as Mike Dudek getting hurt or something along those lines, right? This just feels like something that anyone could explain to somebody why it would happen. I mean. This is a guy who last year he got 2 starts and he appeared in 4 games. He was the only scholarship quarterback on this team in the spring, and everything was his. It was all his, and it's tough when you have 4 guys come in that are all looking to battle for your job, and that's exactly what happened. And we saw during training camp, Isaac and I, we were there at training camp, and the pressure got to him. He wasn't able to handle it. And, drill after drill, he was missing players. And while he's a very athletic guy, he's very quick. I think if he was on this team, they would have found ways to use him during the season. And in some ways, whether it's a wildcat formation or whatever, it's tough not to use the athleticism that he has. But in terms of being out there to throw the ball and be the quarterback and the guy that's leading the offense, it wasn't going to happen this year. And so for him realizing that and for him struggling with that as well, because also he's passed up by 2 freshman QBs, it looks like. That's a hard thing to deal with. And so, he leaves the team for these personal reasons. Again, we don't know exactly what they are, but it's tough to be in this situation. And I can't be too surprised by it. He wasn't going to get a lot of playing time, and that's a hard situation.
I reached out to Cam this afternoon, and he did not want to talk about it. You really didn't want to have anything to do with an interview, so we don't really know what's going through Cam Thomas's mind right now. But what we do know is that he's still enrolled at the University of Illinois. He's still taking classes. He's just not part of the team. And whether that's to save a year of eligibility, we're not sure how that is. He could get through the semester, then transfer to another program, join that team for spring ball, and then go forward because this guy does have power Power 5 traits. He has a very, very strong arm. He has really, really good legs. And Eli, you talk about it a little bit, but he's the fastest quarterback on the team and one of the fastest players on this roster.
On the roster in general.
And he really is a heck of an athlete. Just the decision making, and he felt like he was always a second or two behind. And he didn't pick up Rod Smith's offense very fast. And Matt Robinson and MJ Rivers are the two freshmen that they brought in. And they've passed him up, and they've been here for a month. And Cam Thomas has had 8 months to work in Rod Smith's new offense. So, when you look at this team and you see that AJ is the starter, and you see Matt and MJ are the next two guys in line, it felt like Cam was the odd man out.
Yeah, I mean, this news would have been tough for me if it would have happened before fall ball. But all the stuff that I heard of, like in fall ball, about how he was like clearly tier behind AJ Bush and even MJ Rivers and Matt Robinson, the two backup quarterbacks, I was like, well, it just seems like a matter of time before he's gone, because it's pretty obvious he's not part of the plan for the future. And I was looking on Twitter, and there's people saying like, oh, like Illinois loses another quarterback. It's like, well, I mean, this guy wasn't really going to be part of. The only reason people know who he was is because he started a couple games last year.
Yeah.
And people thought like, oh, he could be like the next guy, but it seemed very quickly to be the case that he was not the next guy when the ball started flying in the fall.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think that it's key to realize that while some guys can go on and talk about the situation that Illinois is in and say, well, that's another loss for Illinois. Well, I don't know if it is really. It's just a player that the change that he went through, he didn't mesh with the offense, even though it felt like he might be able to. I mean, this Rod Smith offense is quick. He's a fast guy, but he wasn't able to mesh with it. And you also have options now. That's something you didn't have last year. And sometimes quarterback battles get to people. And he had no battle last year. He was, if anything, people all year were advocating for the guy to start, right? Every year was like,
which
please,
might tell
please.
you a little bit more about how
bad
Chase
the
Crouch
situation was. But everyone since the beginning of last year was advocating for this guy to play, right? And so everyone wanted him. He started to play. People weren't mad at him when he was losing. They still wanted him. And then, then he has to fight adversity after all of that, where he feels like he earned something, or, he's heading into it. So sometimes that situation is hard to deal with. And I've seen people on Twitter commenting on that as well, saying, I guess a guy can't deal with adversity, or, players need to learn how to be able to deal with this better. And I don't necessarily think that's true. I mean, if you lose the QB battle and you end up being the fourth string guy, you might have to leave the team and you might have to transfer, because you are athletic and you might find a better situation somewhere else.
And this isn't something that's just happening at Illinois. We saw it at Michigan. Jeff George Jr. leaves the program up there and transfers to Pitt. We saw it at Nebraska. Their backup quarterback decided to transfer afterward right away after he was not named the starter. We saw it at Indiana, where Arizona transferred quarterback Brandon Dawkins, transfers to Indiana, loses the job, and decides to retire from football. So this happens. And you know what? Illinois fans, we might have to get ready and get used to it more, because in the spring, after AJ Bush graduates, there's going to be another big-time quarterback battle. And MJ Rivers and Matt Robinson and Karan Taylor are three freshmen who look really good right now and look like they could be pieces. Oh, and then you add Isaiah Williams to the mix.
Well, and when you're a good team, that's what you end up dealing with. When you get good players and you get a bulk of good players, guys end up leaving. And that's the harsh reality that you have to deal with. And I think that when you see those reactions over Twitter, Isaac, that you bring up, it comes from a feeling of these past several years and just frustration that if anyone ends up leaving the team, or if anything ends up happening to the team, people just automatically take the defensive end, right? And then they start saying that they're all angry and this is a terrible thing. It really, how bad is this situation for Illinois? What's this going to change for them? Not much, right? With the Dudek thing, that's different, right? With losing Dudek, that's different. But then you lose Cam Thomas. This is a guy that was a complete question mark if he was even going to see the field. And again, I think he would have seen a little time, but it wouldn't have been anything substantial.
And Rod Smith, let's not pretend here that Rod Smith didn't give him a chance or ran him out the door. He came into just the spring, he took all the snaps. And then when you went to fall, even though Illinois had major upgrades at quarterback, Cam was still the one that was taking those first team reps at quarterback. Rod Smith gave him the job. Rod Smith said, here's the job, you just need to go take it. Well, unfortunately, AJ Bush was better. And AJ Bush went up and sees the thing. And,
not just AJ Bush.
Yeah, well, that's true. And Matt Robinson and MJ Rivers have made the most of their opportunities. And I talked to Rod Smith and I talked to Cam because I did a story on Cam for Illini Inquirer literally 3 weeks ago. And, Cam was talking about how, competition is really good and how he's made a 180-degree change. He sees things on the field that he didn't used to see and how much better he felt. But this quote from Rod Smith really stuck out. Rod Smith goes, Cam is different from the rest of them because he can move. Not that the other guys can't move, but Cam moves at a different level than the rest of them. Cam can make every throw on the field. Cam's got to continue to make sound decisions on the field. Sometimes he makes some throws that are big-time Division I throws. That tells me he's got it in him. We just got to keep fostering it and get it out of him all the time, and it'll come. You know what that quote speaks to me? That speaks to me that Rod Smith believed in Cam. Rod Smith believed that he could get it out of him. So this isn't a decision where Illinois is running guys off, and that's happened before in this Illinois team as, Lovie Smith tries to purge his roster of some guys over the offseason. This wasn't one of those situations. Is it going to stink for Illinois to lose, like from a culture side and, from a views perspective to lose Cam Thomas? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, on the field, if A.J. Bush got hurt, who's the guy coming in after him? Probably
MJ Rivers or Matt Robinson.
Probably MJ Rivers or Matt Robinson. And so hopefully A.J. Bush stays healthy all year long and moving forward. But, when we look at this game against Saturday, they're going to have to battle through this. And this has been a tough week. Ricky Smalling's in a boot in his right foot. Mike Dudek is out for the rest of the season with a torn. We're not sure yet what's up with his knee, but he's done for the year with a messed up knee. And now Cam Thomas leaves the team. If you're a leader, Binz, on this team, what are you trying to tell your guys after you have a guy leave, after you have your second best wide receiver is done for the year, and your top wide receivers in a boot?
I'd say I'd believe in the system. Rod Smith, that offense put up numbers in the second half last weekend. That offense put up numbers last year at Arizona. They have a guy, Khalil Tate, who's one of the Heisman hopefuls this year. A lot of which is based off of the fact that last year Rod Smith really kind of brought it out of him at Arizona. So I'd say, listen, even if we still have playmakers on this roster, even if some of our top-end guys aren't going to be out there, we still have guys who can do stuff with the ball. And we have a system where we're going to be putting those guys in positions where they're going to be able to do stuff with the ball. And I know that sounds pretty simple, but that's basically the whole point of offensive football, is to give your playmakers the ball with a chance to do something with it. And I think Rod Smith does a really good job of that, so I think that'll help cover up kind of the loss of some of these players.
Now, in the rain, I think that running the football is obviously going to be a big point of emphasis, and Illinois should have another reinforcement. I was at practice on Wednesday. Dre Brown was out of a walking boot. He was in full pads and gear, which is really good to see. He's a guy who's battled just a multitude of injuries throughout his career. He's tore his ACL twice, and so he's a high-impact player when he's on the field, and Illinois should look to get him back. But, Eli, when you look at this game against Western Illinois is 0-1. They lost a 3-point game to Montana State in their first game. But what do you want to see from this Illinois team? Because there's a lot of things. The defense had major question marks against Kent State. The offense in the second half was great, but in the first half they were rough. But what's the biggest thing you want to see from this Illinois team on Saturday night?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to point out that, and Lovie Smith said this at his Monday press conference, that this is a different team than they're going to see really all year. This Western Illinois team is kind of bizarre now when you look at them compared to other college teams, because they're super traditional. They're what a team used to look like. He emphasizes how they huddle, they take their time, and people are used to moving quick on the football field nowadays, and that's just something that's not something that we see. So one, I think that is going to be a different challenge for this team. But I think that what you do and what I'm looking for in this game, one, I want the defense to step up. I want more guys than just Jake Hansen to have a great game. I think the defense needs to play really solid, because this is a Western Illinois team, and this is a defense that also could be a Big Ten caliber defense, and they need to be able to show that against a team like Western Illinois. But I think offensively, they're just going to run it down Western Illinois' throats. They had success in the second half running the football. You give it to a play, Binz, you emphasized giving it to your playmakers. If you want to talk about a top playmaker, you give it to Reggie Corbin. I spoke to Reggie Corbin on Monday, and this is a guy who he obviously wants the ball more, but he likes the way that the system's working. And the thing is, he loves the running back depth that they have. And and you ask him, is it important for you to get more carries, or do you want to be the number one guy or something like that? And he doesn't care about that. All he cares about is the team getting the ball, or the running backs getting the ball and showing what they can do. And each running back scored a touchdown in the last game. Dre Brown, out of the game, but you have Mike Epstein score a touchdown, you have Rayvon Bonner score a touchdown, and you have Reggie Corbin score a touchdown. And I think you might see a very similar thing in this game. And A.J. Bush also is going to be carrying the ball. So, especially with the forecast, if it rains, of course they're going to be running the ball more. But I think, nevertheless, let's say it's a beautiful day outside, run the ball, because it worked for you really, really well. Give your receivers a little bit of a break one game, and just be able to pound the ball.
Binz, we talk about this traditional offense and, lining up with the quarterback under center, a couple tight ends set. It feels like the Illinois defensive ends need to have a much better game. Bobby Roundtree and Isaiah Gay weren't great. Owen Carney had his moments against Illinois, but they need to get some pressure on the quarterback. Illinois just had one sack against Kent State. How do you generate more pressure from those guys?
I mean, I'd just say, look, you're going up against Western Illinois. You're better than the guy across from you. Like, you should go get pressure right now. But, I mean, as far as generating pressure, they can do some more creative stuff with stunts, maybe lining up Roundtree and Gay inside might be able to help putting them up against slower guards since they are bigger guys as far as being defensive ends. But, I mean, yeah, as far as last week goes, it was horrible as far as pressure was concerned. That was with a more mobile guy in Woody Barrett. I'm sorry, I don't know the Western Illinois offense off the top of my head, but I feel like they probably don't have a guy with the athleticism that a former Auburn scholarship quarterback has. So I would say, look, you're better than the guy across from you. If you can get by him, the quarterback's not going to be able to run away, so go get it.
Yeah, Western Illinois quarterback is Sean McGuire, the senior. He passed for 2,852 yards last year, 25 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And yes, you're right. Woody Barrett is way faster, way stronger, way more athletic than Sean McGuire. McGuire would much prefer to stay in the pocket and throw the ball down the field. When we come back, we're going to go on a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to break down this Illinois versus Western Illinois game even more. We will also give our predictions of the game, and then later in the show, we will break down the NFL and give our predictions division by division. Keep listening to us on Illini Drive 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive. Thursday night, we're talking Illinois football. Illinois will kick off against Western Illinois Saturday at 6:30 on Big Ten Network, as Illinois will try to advance to 2-0 for the second consecutive year. And it would be Lovie Smith's 7th win of his tenure here at Illinois. He would improve to 7-19 in his career as he tries to get this program back on the map. And, you know, year 3 is always a really big year, and Illinois thought that these first 2 games against Kent State and Western Illinois would be the easy ones to get going, and then you play a really good South Florida team next week at Soldier Field. But, you know, after that first week performance against Kent State, this game against Western Illinois has so much more intrigue. But we're going to go around the room, and we're going to give our predictions. Yes, you, Tati, you're going to give your prediction too.
Hey, Tati's a football beat reporter, so she should be given our predictions.
She'll probably be the closest out of all of us.
So she's there every game, and so she's going to give her prediction. This is important.
Let's do this. Let's go around the room. We'll start with you, Eli. Give me your prediction, score, and you know, a little bit of analysis, and give me one player to watch this weekend for Illinois or Western Illinois if your heart desires.
Whew. I didn't get time to think about my one player, but all right. I'm going to say my prediction. I think that this game, it actually really does depend on the weather. The weather's going to be a big impact for this game. If right now it sticks to what it's going to be, I mean, this could be a close game because it's going to be really tough to be moving the ball down the field. But I think that if we're looking at this from just the game standpoint and all weather or outside factors taken out of it, I think that this Illinois team should win this one pretty handedly. I know that this Western Illinois team, you know, some might even say is better than the Kent State team, or some might even say it's the top of the FCS or whatever, and people have brought that up. But and last year, you know, this team wasn't terrible or things like that. But I think at the end of the day, that this Illinois team is a Big Ten team. I think that the second half showed they can play Big Ten football, and I think that they should hand it pretty well to this Western Illinois team. I think that this is the type of game that you could see the scoring we thought we'd see in Kent State, right? And if you think about it, you know, they scored 21 points in the third quarter, and that's what this team's capable of. That's what we saw in training camp when we were there. That's what we saw. The play calling was very similar to the third quarter, and so if they just do that for 2 halves of football and they put it together, this is a team that will score. When I said in the Kent State game, that could score the 40-something points, which is what they do against these FCS opponents. I know Tati wrote a preview. Very good preview, Tati. A preview.
Check that out at dailyillini.com.
Exactly. And where she wrote a preview and she emphasized that, you know, Illinois averages 40-something points against these teams and these schools. So I think that's going to be very similar this upcoming game. I think they'll get their stuff together. And in terms of players to watch out for, I guess I'll just throw Reggie Corbin out there. I think he had a great second half, and I think that they're going to really use him in this game, especially if the weather's not great. And, you know, I think Rod Smith saw a lot out of him yesterday. On Sunday or Saturday, he made the plays necessary. Even though the other guys got carries, he's more explosive than all of them. And he's going to be a big playmaker for this team, and I think this game could be a nice breakout one for him.
10 carries for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns for Reggie Corbin against Kent State.
He passed up, in that one game, all the yards he had last year. So I had last season.
Pretty incredible numbers there.
Yeah, and
you know, he looks like the guy we saw a couple years ago that averaged over 6 yards a carry, and that's a huge thing for this Illinois offense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that he's a guy that you have to watch out for the rest of the season. But I think this Western Illinois game could be kind of a coming out party finally for Reggie, who has a lot of potential.
Amazing things happen when an offensive coordinator trusts you, and that's the biggest difference for Reggie Corbin, because the talent's always been there. How about you, Binz?
So for me, the difference in this game is one letter, and it's the difference between a B and a C. You kind of touched on it, but Illinois should not be losing to FCS teams, and no FBS team should be losing to FCS teams. So, I mean, I don't know about score. I'd say Illinois 35, Western Illinois 10, maybe. I'll give them.
Are we doing
I'll
scores?
Give them like a muffed punt by Illinois since Dudek's not going to be out there. Yeah, I mean, this team is just straight better. And as far as players that I'm looking for, I would say probably one of the best players on Illinois' offense would be Mike Epstein. And they're going to, and especially since you can't really count on Smalling being in there this week, obviously in a walking boot, you're going to need plays from guys in space. And there's not many more versatile players on this roster and on this offense than Mike Epstein. So especially if the weather gets weird, I'd expect you see him in the backfield a lot with other running backs. Do a lot of misdirection stuff, get those linebackers moving one way. It's hard to change direction in the rain and the mud. So that's what I mean. Not that there's mud on the Illinois field, but the theoretical mud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd expect to see a big game out of Epstein and a big game out of AJ Bush with the ball in his hands, running the ball.
Tati Perry. Wait, are you going to be three? Are we going to go 3 for 3 here, where you think Illinois is going to beat Western Illinois?
Yeah, for sure. Of course.
Awesome.
Is that shock? I think
Shocking
you're going to ruin
results
this.
here. We think Illinois is going to beat
We're gonna
Western
lose?
Illinois.
No, I think you'll see in my prediction in just like a second.
Sorry,
or two.
my bad. Well, I think that, I mean, in the last meetings with Western, we've outbeat, the Illini have beaten them out 65-0. And I know they're very different teams that have faced them in both standpoints. Like, Western's obviously a different team. But I do see them getting on the boards. I do see that happening. Illinois, I mean, if we saw anything from the Kent State game, we saw that they are slow to start. And, yeah, there was a lot of confusion and freshman jitters and whatnot, but the rain isn't going to help that. So they're still going to be slow to start. And I think Western, having watched, I assume has watched the game, is going to take advantage of that in the slow start. So I think I think the first half is still going to be probably a little quaky, maybe just the first quarter before the Illini gain their confidence. But I do think the Illini will come back strong and definitely come back for a win. I would say that Western will probably pull off like 2 touchdowns minimum before the Illini. Well, the Illini will probably spawn sooner, but before the Illini really take the lead. And I think, I can see the Illini putting up 40 easy.
I'm there with
What are you
you.
thinking? 40-14?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good.
All right, I got to give I realized we're doing scores. I didn't even do it. I'm going to agree with Tati. I think that, and I'm going to give you 2 scores here. I think if we're talking decent weather, games going fine, I'm going to give you like 42-10, right? But I think that if we're going rain, I think this game's a lot closer. And I'm going to say that Illinois maybe goes 28, maybe they go 32, 34. And I'll say low 30s. I'll go with low 30s. And then I'm going to put Western Illinois at 0. So I think that I still think they win it handedly, but I think that the scoring for Illinois could really, really differ.
Look, Western Illinois in their career has never, ever beaten a team at the FBS level. I don't see that continuing. No, I don't see that happening on Saturday.
Until Saturday.
The old Lee Corso put on the whatever the Illinois.
Yeah,
The Leathernecks, he's going to put on
the Leathernecks are
Bulldog.
not beating Illinois, although they may have the best name in all of the state schools. I think
Leatherbacks is great.
Leathernecks is pretty.
Leathernecks.
Leathernecks is great. But yeah, I think Illinois should win this game pretty handily. I do like little pieces of Western Illinois' team. They're very old. They have a lot of redshirt seniors that have been playing for 3 or 4 years. Guys that have 25, 26, 27 career starts. Illinois has one guy that has more than 20 starts, and that's Nick Allegretti. So they definitely are a lot more They have a lot more veteran presence. But at the end of the day, Illinois is a Big Ten team. In Kent State and Western Illinois, it plays at the FCS level. So I think Illinois should be able to win this game about 38-14, 38-17 is what I'm thinking, because Western Illinois can move the ball. They have a senior quarterback that isn't going to be scared. He's not going to be rattled under the lights of Memorial Stadium. He'll be competent, but I think Illinois should be able to cruise. If I'm looking for a player to watch, Again, my eyes are always on A.J. Bush. I think that A.J. does so many things for this team, and he's really elevated the floor of this team just with his running ability and with his ability to throw the ball down the field. If it's rainy, I think you'll see a ton of quarterback runs. I think you could see 4 running backs get, 8 or 9 carries, especially if Dre Brown is healthy. And, Mike Epstein's a guy that they've been limiting his carries. They don't want to overdo him as he comes back from the stress fracture that he had last year. But with A.J. Bush, with Reggie Corbin, with Rayvon Bonner, and Dre Brown, that gives you 5 guys that can really run the football, and I think Illinois should be able to impose their will on the ground. So I have Illinois winning 38-14 or 38-17 over Western Illinois. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the NFL. Brian Binz is he's our resident Seattle Seahawks fan. I'm sure he'll have some hot takes on the Seahawks. Eli and I love the Bears, so we'll see where we rank the Bears and see if the Bears can even make the playoffs if we have them in the playoffs. Stick with us here on Illini Drive 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive. It's NFL time in about, just under an hour. Philadelphia Eagles are going to start their path back to being the Super Bowl. They're going to try to win their second Super Bowl in a row. They will battle with Atlanta tonight. That game starts at 7:20. I'm fired up for the NFL season, but we're going to go through division by division. We're going to give our, the winners of each division. Then we'll talk about our playoff teams a little bit, and then we'll give our Super Bowl picks too. And obviously, we're both, me and Eli Schuster, big Bear fans, so we'll see what we think about the Bears. And then Brian Binz just loves the Seahawks, but
the biggest fan.
Let's get into the AFC East. I mean, guys, this is the easiest division, isn't it? I mean, it has to be the Patriots. For me, I think Patriots are 1, but after that, it's just a toss-up who you want it to. I like the Jets this year with Sam Darnold. I think he could be a pretty good piece, but Miami's decent-ish with Ryan Tannehill. Adam Gase is a pretty good coach, and then obviously the Buffalo Bills are just a dumpster fire, so they have to be 4th. But Eli, what do you think? What do you think of this division? Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, Bills, right?
Okay, this is interesting. I think that I'm going to see, I agree with Patriots, Jets. The thing that I think, if I'm going to get hot takey here between Dolphins and Bills, I mean, we could sit there, we could talk about the Bills being a dumpster fire all we want, and I am not a fan at all of Josh Allen. However, the guy's got an arm, and the guy's also got Calvin Benjamin.
He's also very tall.
He's also very tall. But and they also got LaShawn McCoy, if he can actually stay on the field. But they have some playmakers, and their defense is not dreadful. And so I think this is a team that honestly it could surprise you. And the Dolphins have a lot of question marks around them. Kenyon Drake, I'm not sold on him at all. I don't know how Ryan Tannehill is going to be now coming back. Their receiving core is not necessarily elite. Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, I mean, those are some of your top guys. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't have that much faith in Danny Amendola either. So I'll disagree with you, and I'll go with the Patriots, Jets, Bills, Dolphins.
I love it.
And that's where I'll leave that.
I hate to stick with the theme, but I'm going to go Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, Bills. I think the Bills are going to be horrible this year. I think Josh Allen isn't very good, so there's no hope for me as far as that goes. Nathan Peterman, he of the 5 interceptions in 1 half, is obviously not very good. And then I think the Dolphins, even though they have lost a lot of their playmakers, they still have a guy who's at least an average NFL quarterback, maybe a little below average, but in today's day and age, that should be worth at least 5-6 wins, and the Buffalo Bills do not have that. So I'd guess they win about 3 games. Pats are always going to be on top. The Jets just are kind of in a transition stage right now, but they're the worst of the not, or the best of the not good.
Moving right along, New England Patriots are our AFC East champions. The AFC North, though, is a little bit more interesting. The Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, those are 3 teams that look like they've improved a little bit off of last season. The Baltimore Ravens, though, they've fallen a little bit off, obviously, though they have Lamar Jackson in there, and what are you going to get from Joe Flacco? So this is an interesting division. For me, I think the Steelers are clear-cut the number 1 team in this division. I like the Bengals this year. For some reason, I really think A.J. Green is going to have a really solid year. Joe Mixon, he might not be the greatest guy off the field, but he's a very, very talented running back. Andy Dalton, what are you going to get there? You'll see what you have, but I think they'll be second. Tyler Eifert coming back at tight end is a solid pick there, and then their defense was pretty opportunistic last year. Third, Baltimore Ravens, and then fourth, the Browns. They're going to be better than that 0-16 team last year, but I could see them finishing around 5 or 6 wins and finishing in last place.
All right, well, I'll take this next, and I disagree. I think that the Steelers, I agree with you on that. That would be my number one. I think after that is where it gets very interesting for me because I am not sold on this Bengals team at all. I think that, AJ Green's a great wide receiver. Joe Mixon's got talent, but that's not a guy that I think that this team can rely on.
Do they have an offensive line? Remains to be seen.
And Andy Dalton, I mean, this is a guy that just hasn't been able to get it done year after year. He has some good games.
You don't believe in the red hair?
No, unfortunately. So, and honestly, like the Ravens, this is a team for me that is always interesting. I mean, Joe Flacco's not again. I mean, we could talk about how elite Joe Flacco is all we want, but Joe Flacco's put together some good years and he's put together good seasons, and he knows what he's doing. And so for me, I think I'm going to go Steelers, and then I'm actually going to go Ravens, and then I'm going to go Browns, and then I'm going to go Bengals. I'm very low on the Bengals. I think the Browns, they have so much opportunity to be good this year. I mean, I think
their defense has some pieces.
Their defense has great pieces, but also their offense has great pieces. They got a lot of depth at running back. They got depth at QB now too. I mean, I would trust Baker or Taylor being out there. So I like both of them being out there. And then also their receiving core has the potential to be one of the best in the NFL, really, when you think about it. Because I think Jarvis Landry, he's a very, very good wide receiver. And then Josh Gordon, I mean, he's got all the talent in the world. It's just how is he going to deal with it? So
David Njoku is a very underrated tight end.
David Njoku is a great tight end. So I think that this offense is going to be – this is a team that has all the right makeup, and it's just going to be – can they put it together? And so I think that they can, and I think that they'll put together that 5-win – they could get a 5-win season going, and I think that'll be enough to get them a third spot. So.
I also have Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati. I think the Bengals are trash because Andy Dalton is horrible. And Marvin Lewis is still their coach, right? Even though he said he was going to retire last year. So obviously not a great situation out there. I like Cleveland. I think whether it's Taylor or Mayfield in there, I think they're going to be fine because they basically are probably going to ask them to do about the same thing, manage the game, make a couple plays athletically. But overall, I like Cleveland, especially on defense. Even though they have a horrible defensive coordinator, they should.
And let's not forget,
better.
Taylor's one of the best quarterbacks the Browns have had in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Okay, and
is he the best they've ever had?
I'd say he's the first starting quality quarterback they've had in at least maybe since what's his name, Derek Anderson back in 2007.
This is a guy. Yeah, this is a guy that got his team to the playoffs last year, and a lot of it was his doing. He was very, very good last year. He got one of I think he's got one of the best. Turnover percentages, right? Where he holds onto the ball well. He just never turns the ball over. He might not be flashy. He might not be shocking, but he can go on the run. And he also has got a really good arm. So I like him a lot.
Let's move on to the AFC South, which might be one of the best divisions in this AFC and maybe one of the best divisions in all of the NFL. But Tennessee, Indianapolis Colts getting, of course, Andrew Luck back, which immediately raises that team up to another level. Jacksonville, fresh off of their run all the way to the AFC Championship game last year. Houston Texans also getting back Deshaun Watson. Boys, where do we see this one going, Eli?
I'm going to go Texans. After Texans, I'll throw in the Titans, and then I'm going to throw the Jaguars and the Colts. I think that the Colts with Andrew Luck, it's great to have him back, but there's not a lot of pieces there for him to work with necessarily. T.Y. Hilton, again, he's going to have a good year, but he'll have a good year because Luck's back. I think that the Jaguars, this is a team, I honestly think that the Jaguars defense is still, it's like obviously one of the best in the league, but I like the Jaguars still. However, I think Bortles doesn't have a lot of help, and I'm in on Blake Bortles. I think he's fine. I think he can facilitate a team, but he doesn't have a lot of help now with his receivers kind of leaving him. So that's a worry for me. But the Titans, they were good last year. I think they'll do the same.
I have Houston, Jacksonville, Indiana, Tennessee. I think this is one of the best divisions in football, top to bottom. Maybe not as far as quarterback talent goes, but as far as overall rosters, I think all these teams have strong offenses and defenses. I like Houston because I think Deshaun Watson's the best quarterback in that division, even if Andrew Luck is healthy. He's very, very good. I saw him with my own eyes last year in Seattle. They played Houston up in Seattle. That was the last game before he tore his ACL, and he absolutely destroyed a healthy Legion of Boom. So that was very impressive by him. The other weird thing, my list with Tennessee at the bottom, I think this isn't really even a slight against Tennessee. I think Andrew Luck will stay healthy this year because I think the Frank Reich, their head coach, is going to do a good job of protecting him. He was a quarterback, so he knows how to kind of keep those guys from taking unnecessary hits. I just think that this whole division is really good, and someone had to come in last. I think Tennessee has the lowest ceiling out of everyone in the South, so that's who I'm going to
completely agree with you boys on Houston. I think Houston has this division pretty much locked up for me. I think that they're a 9 or 10 or 11 win team, and Deshaun Watson coming back is huge. This offense is going to be good, but J.J. Watt is also coming back on that defense, and he's one of the best defenders in this game, to go along with Jadeveon Clowney, to go along with former Illini Whitney Merciless, who has had a terrific career there.
Picked up Teron Matthew as well.
Yeah, so that Texans team looks really good. At 2, I like the Jaguars. I think they're going to take a step back, though, just because they didn't have to play Deshaun Watson twice last year. They didn't have to play Andrew Luck twice last year. And then they did play Tennessee twice last year and lost to them both times. So I see the Jags taking a little bit of a step back, but they're still in second place. I like the Colts more than I like the Titans as well, just because the Colts have Andrew Luck and the Titans have Marcus Mariota. Outside of that, the Titans clearly have the better roster, but Luck is just one of the better quarterbacks in the game when he's healthy, and if he can get back to that, a little bit of that, the Colts are going to be a team that can finish around 7 or 8 wins this year. Let's go to the AFC West. The Broncos, the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Chargers. Eli, boy, this division feels like there's 2 really good teams and then 2 not so great teams, but who do you got?
All right, this one's a very interesting one for me. I think that I think that the Chargers could have a very good year. They have a lot of potential. Their defense is pretty good. I think Phil Rivers just wants to get it done finally and have himself get to the playoffs, and so I think the Chargers could have a pretty good year. I think for me, I might even put them at 1. So I think I might do Chargers, and then after Chargers, I might have to go Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders. So that's probably where I'm going to have it at. There's a lot of talent in this. Honestly, there's a lot of talent across the board here, but I think that the Chargers will finally do it.
I'm going to go Chargers 1, Chiefs 2, Broncos 3, Raiders 4. I think that the Chargers are one of the low-key, best, most talented teams in the league. They've got Melvin Ingram and Bosa coming off both ends on that defense. It's ferocious no matter who you are. Even if you've got one of the better offensive lines in the league, you still have to have account for both those guys. I think Phil Rivers is a sleeper for MVP. If the Chargers win that division, which has been very good the last couple of years and will probably be decently good again this year and have an impressive record, he could swoop in and grab MVP since they're probably not going to give it to Brady again. And we don't know how health will rack out in the rest of the league. And he's been very reliable as far as staying on the field. He has not missed a lot of games. Oakland in the basement, I think Gruden's done a horrible job so far. Denver's all about whether or not Keenum's last year was a fluke or not. And then Kansas City, it's all about whether or not Mahomes is actually an upgrade.
Binz hates Gruden.
I mean, I do too. I think Oakland's the worst team in this division. I like the other 3 teams a lot. I'm with you guys.
No faith in Derek Carr.
Chargers?
I don't. Derek Carr is horrible.
I have the Raiders last too, so I'm not sitting here saying that the team's better. But
I mean, when you
I
look
like
at,
Derek Carr.
When you look at this AFC, I see the Bills. I see the Raiders. The Raiders and the Bills are the worst 2 teams in this conference, and the Dolphins.
Bengals.
Man,
Bengals. I agree with Bengals.
But,
Bills could be better than Bengals.
Yeah, for this West, I'm going to go.
I don't know about that.
I don't know either.
Chargers 1, Kansas City 2. I love that roster. I'm not sure what we're going to get with Patrick Mahomes. If he's really good, this Chiefs team could easily win this AFC West. 3, Denver Broncos, and then 4, Oakland Raiders. All right, guys, let's go quick here. Give me all right. So we each had our division winners. Give me the 2 wild card teams that you're going along with it. So for me, I had the Patriots, I had the Steelers, I had Houston, and I had Los Angeles. The 2 wild card teams I'm picking are Kansas City, and then I think I'll go the Jaguars. Are going to be my last one in the AFC.
AFC for me, my playoff teams are going to be Pats 1 seed, Chargers 2 seed, Pittsburgh 3 seed, Houston 4 seed. 2 wild cards are going to be Baltimore and Jacksonville. I like Baltimore with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give my wild cards here. I'm gonna have to go with. I think that this is tough too. Actually, I think the Jaguars could grab one of them, and then actually look at the Broncos. I think the Broncos can grab one of them too. Case Keenum. I like him. I think he's good, and they got a lot of talent on that team.
Awesome. Let's move on to the NFC. We got about 13 minutes left in the show, so we're going to have to go through this one a little bit faster. Boy, this NFC East is tough. The Eagles obviously winning the Super Bowl last year. They go out and they revamp their defensive line even more. Carson Wentz is coming back from an injury. They'll have Alshon Jeffrey, the former Bear, coming back as well in a couple
Fun
weeks.
fact, they announced tonight, though, that Nick Foles will be starting more than one game because Carson Wentz, they said they're going to sit him for several weeks.
They're going to take him easy on him.
Alshon Jeffrey also not playing tonight.
Yep. So we'll see what the Eagles are like in this division. I like the Eagles to finish first. The Giants are second for me just because I think they're going to make a big jump back with Saquon Barkley. Also, a year of Odell Beckham Jr. being healthy is really big, and I think that defense takes another step forward. The Cowboys for me are 3. I like Dak. I like Ezekiel Elliott, but I don't know if they have an upside. I don't think they have that next gear. And then the Redskins are good for like a 2012 team. I mean, they have Adrian Peterson at running back, and who their weapons aren't great. Jamison Crowder's okay. Josh Doxson's okay, but their tight end Jordan Reed struggles to stay on the field, and that defense is getting a little older. So Eagles 1, Giants 2, Cowboys 3, Washington 4. Eli, what do you got?
Man, this one's really tough. I think this is one of the best divisions, honestly, in
for sure.
football. I think
Washington's
I know
very
we said,
good for this
I know
14.
we talked about the AFC, but I think this is the best division in football for me. I sit there and I think that you can have the Eagles at 1. Ben's not happy with me saying that. I sit there and I think I have the Eagles at 1, obviously. After that, it gets really iffy for me, to be completely honest. I think that you could have this Redskins team in 2. I think this Redskins team is built. You talk about them, you joke about them being a 2012 team, but this Redskins team is built to take wins, and what I mean is not flashy wins, but they're going to win games by 3 points. They're going to win games by a touchdown. This is a team that's going to win a lot of games, I think, but just by small margins. And so I think you could put them in the 2 spot there. And then I think you could do Cowboys and Giants are just interchangeable to me. I think that they're going to be duking it out.
I feel like these 4 teams could all finish between 7 and 10 wins. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility here.
Yeah, for sure.
Binz.
I'm going to have to disagree. I think this is one of the worst divisions in football. Philly's great.
It's such a Binz thing to say.
No,
this
seriously.
Is such a Binz thing to say.
The Philly's great. They have an amazing roster if Wentz is healthy. If not, they're probably going to win about 9-10 games. Dallas, their offensive line, which was once like the center of their team, has become a injury-riddled wreck. I don't like Dak Prescott. I need to see Ezekiel Elliott stay on the field the whole year, and they have no receivers. Their defense is also horrible. New York, Eli Manning is bad. Saquon Barkley's a rookie, and Odell Beckham is a diva. Washington, Alex Smith is trash, and the rest of their offensive weapons aren't very good either. And they also don't have a great defense.
I can't wait till it's midway through the season, and then the Redskins
are
in the fight for first.
That's also the order I have them: Philly, Dallas, Giants, Redskins.
Let's move on to the NFC North, which I think is probably the best division in all of football. All right, my predictions.
What? You think the NFC North is?
Oh, I think that I think that these 4 teams could all make the playoffs.
All right.
I don't think they're all going to make them this year, but I think they all could.
Oh, yeah, not this year. Yeah.
No, Minnesota Vikings are 1 for me. Their roster is one of the best in all of football. And then adding Kirk Cousins to that group, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are 2 terrific wide receivers. And then Kyle Rudolph at tight end is a top 10 tight end in this group too. And also they have one of the best offensive lines and one of the best defensive lines and one of the best defenses too. So they're number 1. Green Bay is always going to be in the mix with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I think the Bears are 3rd. I think that adding Khalil Mack and adding Roquan Smith and getting Leonard Floyd on that defense and Allen Robinson to the offense and guys like Trey Burton and Anthony Miller, and if Trubisky takes a step forward, I think this is a team that could win 8 or 9 games. And then 4th is the Detroit Lions. I love their quarterback. I think that Matt Stafford's a very good player. They just need to get a little bit more around him to be able to compete, but they're still a very good team that could win 7 games this year.
Okay, fun. All right. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to say that you have the this is tough. I'm going to say Vikings are still at 1. I don't love what they have going on offense. I like Dalvin Cook coming back a lot, but I think that Kirk Cousins may have some trouble finding what receiver he likes, and that could be interesting to watch. But I'm going to put Vikings at 1, and then after that, I'm going to go and I'll put the Packers after that. I'm probably just going to end up going with Isaac did, Vikings, Packers, Bears, Lions. But I think the Bears and Packers may be a lot closer than a lot of people suspect. I think this Packers team, you have Aaron Rodgers, but there's not a lot after that to really look forward to.
My order is I have Green Bay 1, Minnesota 2, Chicago 3, Detroit 4. I know this is kind of foolish, and this is probably the division I'm going to be most wrong on, but I do think Rodgers is healthy all year. Something I don't know why, but as the season's gotten closer, I've kind of just felt like this could be the year he finally stays healthy for his 17 games, or 16 games, 17 weeks. So I think if that happens, I think they win this division easily. He's easily the best quarterback in this division and could probably sweep the division games if he's healthy in all those games. Minnesota's got a great roster. I kind of like Kirk Cousins. I think he'll be good for them. Chicago, I need to see it before it happens, and so until that happens, I have to put them in the lower tier.
NFC South. This one's also very tough because Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta are all, they're playoff caliber teams.
Don't sleep on the Bucs. I'm just kidding.
All right,
Everyone's
so
sleeping on
let's
the
go
Bucs.
through. We got 8 minutes left. We got to fly. New Orleans, I have them 1. Carolina 2 for me. I think Cam Newton's going to have a really big year. I think Christian McCaffrey is poised to have a better year than he did last year. Devin Funchess is a very underrated wide receiver. Atlanta Falcons, I'll put them at 3. Their offense is very good, but what's their defense going to be? Can they take a step forward? And then the Bucs are just last. I think Dirk Cutter gets fired after the season. I don't think Jameis Winston is wearing a Bucs uniform very much longer after the season ends either. So Saints 1, Carolina 2, Atlanta 3, and Tampa 4.
All right, I'm going to go Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Bucs. That's all I have to say about that.
I'm going to go Falcons, Saints, Panthers, Bucks. Big year for Julio.
I like it. I like NFC West. Brian Binz's favorite division in all of football. Rams. I love their roster. I love what they've done at the defensive line with Ndamukong Suh to go along with Aaron Donald, who's probably the best defender in the game. At 2, I like the Seattle Seahawks at 2nd. Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in this division, and he's the 3rd best quarterback in all of football, just behind Brady and Rodgers. I think that he elevates their team to a whole different level. Bringing back Earl Thomas is big for that defense, and I think that they'll be 2nd. At 3rd, San Francisco 49ers, I'll go them 3, and then Arizona 4. Jimmy Garoppolo has a good year, not great. They finished 7-9, and that's what I think the Niners are at.
All right, Binz, you ready to hate me? I'm only
ahead.
going to say this
Go
because I
ahead.
want you
I
to
love
hate
it.
me. All right, no, so I'm gonna go with the Rams, obviously at 1. But then my pick after that, I'm going with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to be there at 2nd. I like Jimmy G. I think Garoppolo is really great. I think Marquise Goodwin's going to have a heck of a year. I think him
Have
and
him on
Garoppolo,
multiple fantasy teams.
I have him. He's my sleeper in every fantasy league. I think that him and Garoppolo, that they're going to be great together. And then I think after that, I get the Seahawks. I put the Seahawks right there. And then I go with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals, they'll have Bradford for a little while. Then they're going to go Rosen. And just mixing that quarterback thing up is not going to work.
Arizona's a year away.
Yeah.
I think once Josh Rosen gets a little bit more settled.
But
Obviously,
Christian
David
Kirk,
Johnson.
they got some nice. Christian
And
Kirk's a good rookie.
Larry
And
Fitzgerald is still an absolute man.
obviously, I think that's a good fantasy
All
team.
right, Binz, I've given you 6 minutes to go for this team. I'm sure you'll use about 5 minutes 55 seconds on the Seahawks.
No, I'll be quick with it. I am a huge Seahawks fan, but I'm also a realist. The Rams roster is so good. I think, especially with McVay, who's one of the best coaches in the league already, I think that team has a really low basement. So I think I have to put them number 1. But number 2, I have the Seahawks. Anyone who talks to me knows how big I am on this team. I think this could be a 10-11 win team. This could be a team that finally gets Pete Carroll Coach of the Year, finally gets Russ his MVP that he's deserved 2 years now. San Francisco 3, Arizona 4.
I like it. All right, boys. NFC playoffs. So I picked the Eagles. I have the Eagles and the Vikings and the Saints and the Rams as my division winners. But this wild card race is so up in the air. I think I'll go Carolina with one of my wild card spots, and then Seattle gets the last final one. I don't think the Giants or the Cowboys or the Redskins are going to be able to squeeze in there.
All right.
But also I didn't have the Packers in.
Okay.
Barely.
Okay. All right. This is tough. This is a
NFC
really
is
tough one.
absolutely loaded.
The NFC is really tough to pick 2 wild cards. I'm gonna go. This is gonna change next week, but this is
We're
gonna
gonna
easily.
all right, every Thursday we'll do our different
No,
NFL
but
predictions.
again, I'm on the spot on this one. I came into the show dry, but I'm gonna go with the Panthers picking up one of them, and I'm gonna go with the Redskins picking up the other.
My
Alex
playoff
Smith is better than
teams.
Kirk Cousins. Hot take.
My playoff teams, I've got Rams, Eagles, Green Bay, Atlanta will win the division. And then my wild cards, I have Minnesota, and then I have Seattle. I think the NFC West is the second weakest division. I think that they have a decently favorable schedule, so I think they can scooch out a couple more wins over some of these teams in the tougher divisions like the South and the North.
So in the AFC, I will have the New England Patriots beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, shock, to go to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, I think you're going to have the Vikings go up against the Eagles again. I think no, take that back. I've changed my mind. This is how much I've changed my mind. I think the Eagles will go up against the Rams in the NFC Championship game. I have the Rams winning it, and then in the Super Bowl, I have the Rams over the Pats for my Super Bowl champion.
All right, y'all ready for this?
I'm ready.
this
Washington
is gonna-
Redskins are going to win the
This is
Super
going
Bowl.
to be big. No, so my Super Bowl is going to be Chargers from the AFC, and then in the NFC, I am taking the Saints. So I think that we are going to get a Saints-Chargers Super Bowl.
Such a good Super Bowl,
I think
by the
it's
way.
going to be a great Super Bowl. I think Phillip Rivers versus Drew Brees. I want it. I think both of them deserve it, and I'm going to be excited to see it.
So for me, I'll take Houston beating the Patriots in the AFC. Last year they took them to the wire at New England. That was, I think, without J.J. Watt, or even if it was. I mean, either way, that game was neck and neck, and I think that the Patriots got worse than last year. Houston got better. Out of the NFC, I've got Atlanta beating the Rams, just like they did last year in L.A. in the NFC Championship game. I think last year they were a play away from beating the Eagles, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that easily could have been them.
Let's go around the room real quick. Coach of the year. For me, I think I'm going to go Sean McVay is going to win his second Coach of the Year in a row after the Rams win the Super. Hey, I'm all aboard the Rams trade. I got to stick along with this one. Eli, what you think?
Oh, goodness. I don't even know. This is so tough.
Who do you think is going to be good? What team do you think is going to be good?
Well, it's really tough. I don't know. I think that, you could
Matt
see.
Nagy could easily be the Coach of the Year if the Bears are 8-8.
Yeah,
or 9-7.
100% true.
They have to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. This is really tough. Binz, you go first. This is tough for me.
My Coach of the Year, I think if the Seahawks make the playoffs, it has to be Pete Carroll. The whole narrative is about how much worse the Seahawks got. So making a playoff run this year would be a triumph for the culture, and that all goes back to Pete Carroll.
Man, I really don't know. Let's just go with Nagy
Bill
on the
Belichick.
Bears.
All right,
Let's
you're
just go
going-
with them. I'm going to go with them for now.
All right, that's fine. That's
Because
fine.
I do think if this team is, I think if they win if they're an 8-win team, then he probably will get it. That's a big turnaround.
Defensive Player of the Year. There's a lot of good options here. I think Joey Bosa might have a really, really good year. I'm going to go with Joey Bosa from the Los Angeles Chargers as my Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm going to go with the comeback kid, J.J. Watt, especially if Houston does get a high seed in the AFC. I'd assume he'd have a big year, and the narrative would be how awesome this is. Similar to Adrian Peterson's 2,000-yard season.
Yeah, no, I'm right with Binz. I think J.J. Watt's I think he can grab it up. I think that he's too good, and if he's fully healthy, then it's an easy pick.
Last prediction for us, MVP. Is it Tom Brady again? What do you
We're
think,
going to do
Vince?
Rookie of the Year.
Oh, Rookie of the Year. Okay, sorry. We can do Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year for me, I have a hard time picking against Saquon Barkley. I think that he's going to get all the touches for the Giants. I think he can do a lot of different things. And obviously he played in the Big Ten, so that obviously makes him just a heck of a running back. So Saquon Barkley, Rookie of the Year.
It's really tough, not to pick a QB or pick honestly a running back.
Christian Kirk.
But no, I'm not going Christian Kirk. I'm going to go Gallup. I'm going Michael Gallup on the Cowboys. This Cowboys team needs someone to throw to. I love Allen Hurns on fantasy teams because I think Dak needs somebody to throw to. But hey, Gallup's a rookie. He needs somebody to throw the ball to. Dak's got an okay arm.
If you remember, I picked Baltimore to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be Lamar Jackson. I've
pick.
always liked that guy a lot. If my team needed a quarterback, I would have hoped they would have gotten him. I think he's very dynamic, and he's the kind of guy that the media will get behind.
MVP. Brian Binz, we already know is going to take Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I don't know. Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, for me, I like Tom Brady this year. I think he'll have another big year, but I do agree with Binz. Russell Wilson, it's his time, and I think that if without Jimmy Graham there, and with all the issues that they have on that roster, if they make the playoffs, it's because of Russell Wilson. He is
Just like last year when he led the league in touchdowns, and 2 years ago when he led the league, or 2 years before that when he led the league in quarterback rating.
Thank you all for joining us on Illini Drive. Heck of a show. If you missed the show, we talked about Illinois football, also gave our NFL predictions and broke it all down. And listen on Mondays and Wednesdays again as Jake Hassan, Tommy Polson, Nathan DeHaan, and Alex Aguilera will break down the Illinois football game off of Saturday.
Where might I be able to watch a live recording of the show?
Yep, there's going to be a live recording of today's show and of yesterday's show. Those will be posted online. They'll be shared through Illini Drive's accounts and all that good stuff. So you can definitely look out for that.
Awesome. You can catch us next Tuesday. Listen to Jake and Tommy and the rest of the game on Mondays. They break down Illinois football. Thanks for joining us on WPGU 107.1.